France launched its biggest airstrike on the stronghold of the Islamic State, or IS, in Syria, 2 days after the IS-linked attacks in Paris on Friday that killed 129 people. The French Defense Ministry says 10 fighter jets were launched from the United Arab Emirates and Jordan and dropped 20 bombs on the IS command center, ammunition depot and training camp in Raqqa. Earlier, France and the United States have sent a stern warning to the IS, saying that they are going to intensify their raids on the IS. The Pentagon says on Sunday that U.S. Secretary of Defense Ash Carter told his French counterpart Jean-Yves during a phone call that the U.S. is committed to supporting France to make sure the IS, or also known to the allies as Daesh, is dealt with a lasting defeat. On the sideline of the G20 summit in Turkey, U.S. President Barack Obama met his Turkish counterpart Tayyip Erdogan over their efforts to eliminate Daesh. Obama says the U.S. will work with France to hunt down those responsible for the attacks on restaurants, a stadium and concert hall in Paris.
We discussed the progress that's been made in diplomatic talks in Vienna, led by our foreign ministers, and an insistence that we will redouble our efforts working with other members of the coalition to bring about a peaceful transition in Syria and to eliminate Daesh as a force that can create so much pain and suffering.
Erdogan expects the summit to produce a strong statement on the fight against terrorism. On the latest airstrike in Syria, French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius says France's defensive action is legitimate.
La France a toujours dit que dans la mesure où elle était non seulement menacée mais attaquée par Daesh, il était tout à fait normal qu'elle prenne le devant et que dans le cadre de la légitime défense, elle puisse faire des actions. Nous l'avons fait déjà dans le passé et là, nous l'avons fait à nouveau aujourd'hui, puisque Raqqa, comme vous le savez, c'est le centre de commandement de Daesh. Voilà, donc on ne peut pas se laisser attaquer durement. Vous avez vu le drame qui se sont passés à Paris, sans en même temps être présent et actif.
On the first day of the G20 summit, world leaders from 19 countries and the European Union observed a minute of silence for the victims of the Paris killings, as well as the suicide bombing in Ankara in October. The G20 summit ends on Monday. Besides efforts to fight against the IS, the G20 nations are expected to discuss a resolution for the Syrian conflict and refugee problem. The recent spate of attacks on civilians is widely believed to be linked to the airstrikes on IS targets by France, the US, Russia and other coalition members.